Okay, in this second part of the class, we're going to do the following. We're going to do a listening, okay, as we did in the first one that we did a reading. In this case, we're going to do a listening for the main idea, okay. So we're going to listen to a 3 minutes, 28 seconds, okay, interview of Ivan Swan on the Job Builders Daily podcast, okay. And the idea is that you have to write a statement, okay, or at least get the main idea, okay. And then we're going to do more exercises based on the same recording, okay. So here we go.
Welcome to another episode of Job Builder Daily, the self-help podcast that helps make your career dreams come true. Today's topic is the successful job interview, and today's guest is longtime career counselor Evan Swan. Welcome, Evan. So what can you tell our listeners that will guarantee them a successful interview?
Nice to be with you again, Megan. Okay, let's get right to it.
So you've sent in an application and a resume for that dream job you saw advertised online, and the employer thinks you might be a good candidate. He's been in touch to schedule an interview. So far, so good.
Many of you may already know how important it is to make a good impression by dressing appropriately, offering a firm handshake, and maintaining eye contact in a face-to-face interview. At the same time, there are other aspects of your behavior that can make the difference between getting that job or not getting it. Being late to a job interview is almost always a disqualifier. Most candidates are on their best behavior for their interview, so being late's a major red flag for employers. Since punctuality is expected in any kind of work setting, arriving late for the interview makes your future employer worry that you'll have a problem being punctual if you take the job. If, due to unforeseen circumstances, you do arrive late, it's essential to provide an airtight, detailed excuse explaining why your lateness was unavoidable. If at all possible, call or text to give the employer or his or her assistant a heads up so your lateness isn't a surprise. When you arrive, apologize and reassure the interviewer that this isn't habitual behavior on your part. Another thing that can get an interviewee off on the wrong foot is being overly informal or too familiar. Even though the person who interviews you might be friendly or dressed informally, don't take this as permission to be inappropriately casual. If an interviewer wants to be addressed by his or her first name, he or she will invite you to do that. If not, be sure to stick with last names and titles. Remember that employers want to know that you're interested in the job and will be a motivated employee. A candidate who hasn't taken the time to learn something about the company or the position being offered appears unmotivated and willing to take anything that comes along. Even if you are sure you already know everything you need to know about the job or company, prepare 2 or 3 relevant questions for the interviewer about the position or the company. And then listen with obvious interest to the answers, following up with thoughtful questions that demonstrate that you've been listening. So before that job interview, here are a few additional quick tips to keep in mind. Try to be concise when answering questions. Stay on topic and don't provide a lot of irrelevant information. Tell the interviewer your aspirations, where you'd like to be professionally in the next few years. And be positive about yourself and your achievements, but don't brag. Modesty is always the best policy. And 2 final no-nos. Don't seem desperate to get the job, and don't criticize your current employer, ever. Those always create a bad impression.
Okay, so what is the main idea of the text, of the listening text? Okay, the main purpose is to give listeners information on how to have a successful interview. Okay, that is the main idea. You listen to it, and it is what it is. So now we're going to listen to confirm the content. So you have to listen again, okay, you already have the listening, and you have to take the ideas that Swan expressed. Okay, so you have to tell me what statements, okay, do not reflect what he said, what he didn't say. So let's see. We have here 2 of them, okay. Number 1, that employee expect to be punctual on the job, and number 3, it's important for job candidate to express interest in the company offering the job, okay. Good. Now we're going to listen for supporting details, okay. This is even more in detail. So You have to read a quotation here from a job interview, okay, and you have to tell and explain whether the interviewee, okay, the person that is being interviewed, okay, follow the suggestions Ivan Swan gave in the podcast, okay. So let's see. It says here, I say I'm kind of a people person and a pretty good listener. My colleagues often come to me for advice and support. Okay, she follows the tips, okay? She's dressed appropriately and she describes and supports her strength without bragging, okay? Without showing off. What about number 2? It says, I make even better presentation than my boss. You'd be lucky to have me in this job. Okay, no, he's dressed too casually, he brags about himself, and he criticizes his former job. That's not a good idea. Okay, so Nick, do you have kids? No, she's dressed inappropriately and she's too familiar with the interviewers. Like, Nick, no, come on. Of course not. Okay, number 4. What's the biggest challenge to the company sees itself facing in the next year? Yes, she's dressed appropriately. He asked a question to show his interest in the company. Good, very good advice, okay. And he says, sorry, I'm late, but better late than never, right? Of course not. She's late, does not have an airtight excuse. Finally, so let me tell you a little about the job. Okay, so no, because he is also dressed inappropriately, he doesn't make eye contact, so he's looking to the other side, and he is listening with interest. Okay, this is in the context of working. Okay, I know that you should know that you don't need to go in these kind of situations because we are not always applying for jobs. Okay, but you can get a lot of information of grammar and vocabulary from this listening. Okay, good. So in this case, the piece of homework for this week is going to be a revision of the unit. Okay, so it's going to be the revision of the grammar, the vocabulary that we have seen, and the topics. Okay, so it will include a recording, a listening, and also grammar exercises. Okay, good. In case you have any questions, you have to let me know, and I will upload all the audio, all the recordings, even the reading one. Okay, for you to listen to them again and again. Okay, great.